I've been in two minds whether or not to record this video, because I know some people will see it and immediately call me a bigot and a transphobe and want me thrown under the bus. But that's not the case. I've got friends and subscribers who are trans. And if anyone watching this is transitioning, I have no idea what it must be like to be born into the wrong body. So wherever you are on your journey, I wish you the very best. However, as much as I believe that trans people should have every right to live their best possible lives, I don't believe the way to achieve equality is by taking rights away from another group in society. That's why in this video I'm focusing on transgender athletes, because at one end of the spectrum they have an unfair advantage, and at the other end they're just fucking dangerous. Because when it comes to trans athletes, things only ever occur one way. It's always trans women, so people who were born male and have either transitioned or identify as female, dominating women's sports. If the reverse happened, if there was a woman who transitioned into a man who'd become men's heavyweight boxing champion, I would then shut the fuck up. But that's never going to happen. Roughly 1 in 10 people are left-handed. I know, I'm one of them. So to me, most of the world is the wrong way around, because everything's designed for the 9 out of 10 people who are right-handed. I'm a minority, I accept things will not be perfect. And it's estimated that 1 in 100 people are trans. Personally, I think that's a bit of an overestimation. But if that's the case, then that 1% will find things slightly more awkward than the other 99% of the population. Now, I'm more than happy to respect a person's preferred pronouns, although I had no idea 10 years ago it would be such a big issue. But we're living in a time where there are people who make it their life's work to be offended by fucking everything. So it's now considered hate speech if someone says that a trans woman, whether they have transitioned or just a man identifying as female, is in any way different to a biological woman. But that's bollocks, ironically something which many trans women still have. Trans women do not have a uterus, they don't have periods, but they can park a car and understand the offside rule. It's as ridiculous as me identifying as black, and then to hammer the point home, breaking out the boot polish and starting all that shit. That wouldn't make me any less Caucasian, it would just mean I was a racist prick. So to say that there is no difference between a trans woman and a cisgendered woman is to deny reality. Anyone competing in sport who's gone through puberty male will have a massive physical advantage when competing against females. Men are generally larger, stronger, they have more muscle, their bones are heavier and denser, and they have larger hearts. Whereas women tend to have wider hips that makes them less efficient at running. That isn't transphobia, that's biology. Just in the USA, there are over 10,000 men who can beat the women's 100 metres world record. So if 1% of those 10,000 were trans, then instantly there's 100 people with breast implants dressing like Dolly Parton who'd stop any biological woman from winning a medal ever again. In tennis, the greatest female player of all time is Serena Williams. She is magnificent. But in the men's game, she wouldn't even rank inside the top 500. And that's nothing to do with skill, it's because men and women are different. She serves at 105 miles an hour. Roger Federer can serve at over 140 miles an hour. Now they're both 39 years old, so they're coming up to the end of their careers. But for Federer, if he calls himself Janice and puts on a tennis skirt, he can probably have another decade at the top of the women's game. So let's look at some examples of trans women competing in women's sports. Back in 2019, the cyclist Rachel Mckinnon, who was biologically male, accused one of her competitors of unsportsmanlike conduct for refusing to link arms with her on the podium. But I can understand why a female athlete would be pissed off at being beaten by a trans athlete. Because if she spent her life training to be one of the best in the world, and then a 37-year-old man decides that he's now a woman, and in cycling, Rachel Mckinnon was at best mediocre in the men's event. But in the women's events, she started breaking world records. Then we have Laurel Hubbard, and I know it's hard to believe that she wasn't born female. Hubbard is a weightlifter, and she was a weightlifter long before she transitioned. She trained for years as a man, but now identifies as a woman and broke 4 world records in one afternoon. That has never happened before. At the start of this video, I said that some transgender athletes were dangerous. Meet Fallon Fox, who in 2020 was described as the world's bravest athlete. She is a transgender MMA fighter. I firmly believe that trans athletes know damn well that they have an unfair physical advantage. But in Fox's case, this is someone choosing a sport where they get to beat the shit out of women. Now the next image is shocking, it will only be up for a few seconds. And this is the second time that the transgender athlete has broken an opponent's skull. There's nothing brave about a man beating hell out of a woman. It's fucking evil. Personally, I think the solution could be very simple. No matter what someone identifies as, whether that be male, female, or an antique bone china teapot, in sport they should compete as the gender they were assigned at birth, or don't compete at all. We can still use their preferred pronouns, and I think the Olympics would be more entertaining if, say, during the hurdles, some of the competitors looked like they'd come off RuPaul's Drag Race. And I'd love to see someone trying to pole vault wearing 9-inch heels. Back when I was a lad, we used to have this thing called common sense, and that worked remarkably well. But in the modern world, if you try and use logic and reason, then someone's going to get triggered and start screaming. I'll say again, I don't think anyone should gain rights by taking away rights from someone else, and that's what trans athletes are doing. Their right to compete is removing biological women's rights to fair competition. As a lefty, I struggle trying to use a fucking tin opener. That doesn't mean other people should be banned from using them. Thanks for watching.